Nigeria's business environment, often described as unfriendly, is set to get a major boost with the introduction of the Nigeria Trade Hub, an innovative web-based solution which is expected to improve trade facilitation in the country. Wale Oluwo, Chief Executive Officer at Boston Advisory, joins me now to look at how this new technology could change cross-border trade in Nigeria. Thank you so much, Wale,
Thank you for having me, Esther.
For your time. Now, this new technology launched yesterday by the Ministry of Trade and Investment. It's called the Nigeria Trade Hub. The NTH is expected to, it's an innovative web-based solution for the Nigerian Customs Service to boost cross-border trade. It's expected as a whole to improve Nigeria's business environment. Traders can go to a particular place, on the internet, and then, of course, have access to trade information anywhere in the world. Your thoughts on that?
Okay, let me say that it's a very positive development. I think it's coming against the backdrop that Nigerian environment has been characterized as being unfriendly, uncompetitive, and completely uncoordinated. And I think that is the basis upon which this is being done. Now, with this new introduction, we will see some orderliness in the way people can plan trade with Nigeria, because it has a lot of classifications in terms of imports, exports, duties, freight, and all that. And how long it will take you to go from one process to the other. And
these are things that can be implemented immediately, overnight? Coming from years of, like you said, lack of coordination.
It will not be implemented overnight, but I think this is a good start because fine, the hub has been there, but it has to be tested now. Now that it's been launched, importers and exporters will need to go into the hub and see whether what they see in the internet, or on the internet rather, is actually what will prevail on the ground. It's one thing to know how much freight you have to pay. It's one thing to know your customs duty and to know which goods are prohibited and all those classifications. That will be useful for facilitating trade. But when your goods land, that's the reality. That is the part that we have not tested. But conceptually, I think it's a good development.
Now, talking about goods landing, I know that the federal government is trying to achieve that 48-hour clearance at the ports for goods. Now, I've heard the Minister of Finance say that yes, with this new technology, we should be able to achieve that. Do you see that feasible in the short term?
In the short term, maybe not. It will only help us to move closer to achieving it, because this is something that Nigeria has been battling for almost, let me say, 10, 20 years, and we've not been able to get around it because there are structural problems with how trade takes place between Nigeria and our trading partners. On one hand, you find a situation where you have so many agencies at the ports trying to check, trying to apply their own fees, trying to create bottlenecks in some cases. So in a situation like that, you are not going to achieve a 24 hours turnaround. We used to have it some 25 years ago, but now it has changed. So this
technology wasn't that good back then, and we were able to do that. So
there are three problems relating to trade facilitation. One is technology,
okay.
The other is the regulation, and then the human factor. The human factor is the most difficult to do away with, and it will take time. So while I agree that this step is in the right direction, we must now continue to work on the human factor as a country to see that whatever we have represented on the internet is what we obtain on the ground. Because one thing is to say it will happen like this, and then when trade partners test it and it didn't work, it's likely they will go back to the old ways. So a lot of reorientation must happen. A lot of structural reforms must continue, which the federal government is doing already.
When you say orientation, because I know this is starting with actually for the Nigeria Customs Service.
Yeah.
Is it for the Nigeria, in terms of orientation, do you think that should start with the Customs Service?
It must start with the Customs Service, but mind you, Customs Service is not the only agency along the borders and also at the ports. You have the NDLA, you have so many agencies, almost like 6 or 7 of them. Government tried to reduce them to 2, but with this hub now, I'm sure we now have a more coordinated approach, such that every agency can relate with the hub and try to carry out its own regulatory function. But the human factor is still going to be the major challenge. I believe Nigeria can surmount it, but this is the starting point.
Now, talking about human factor, because at this event yesterday when it was being launched, the Minister of Trade and Investment did say that human interventions in transaction process will be significantly reduced. So, so many good things are being said about this new technology, and one gets the impression that, once, it comes on stream, immediately we're going to see
No,
all
it's
these
not.
problems dissolve almost
No.
overnight. But you have made it clear that
No,
cannot
it's
happen.
not going to
Okay,
happen
but
like
for
that.
you, what's a feasible time frame in terms of perhaps implementing it? When can we begin to see significant changes, especially when we hear things like Nigeria's business environment is going to significantly improve? That's something that's taken us, we have challenges, for several years now. So in terms of a time frame, when can we actually see the physical benefits of this?
I think if we consistently apply it and consistently apply reforms on the ground with regards to the orientation of the people who are going to carry out this, and with regards to the structural defects that we see at every entry point, be it seaport, land port, and airport, then we can say if we implement this for another 3 years or more, chances are that we'll get it right. But what is important is that the major problem that importers face with regards to doing business with Nigeria has been information majorly, and dealing with so many agencies at the same time just to get your goods passed through. Now, there are still other areas that will make business more friendly in Nigeria, and that is the judicial system must also be completely reformed, infrastructure and the rest of them. We keep talking about this.
So you don't think this NTH would address a significant portion of these challenges that we face in terms of,
No, this NTH is focusing on the customs.
Okay.
And the customs, to the extent of giving information in terms of legal requirements, in terms of processes, in terms of procedure, in terms of those goods that are not on the prohibition list, in terms of the rate you pay on them, in terms of the freight and the agencies you need to deal with, how much those agencies will charge you, how long it should take the agencies to process your papers ordinarily. And those are fine things that are desirable. But when we start to test them, then we'll know whether we can achieve it or not. But one thing is sure, it is a major step forward. Having codified everything and having put it in the public domain, international interested parties can just go on a single portal and get all the information they need to get in terms of doing business with Nigeria.
If that happens, obviously we should see an increase in foreign direct investment.
Ordinarily we should. But as we are pushing this, we must also be downplaying those other impediments to trade, like the security challenges that we've been having for the past 5 years, making sure our infrastructure comes back and all that. So those are things, they must work together in tandem. They must work together.
All right, thank you so